All right, shocking statistic. I heard recently that the occupancy rate in New York City for office buildings, can you guess what it is as a percentage? How much of their commercial office real estate is currently being occupied? 10%. Unbelievable, 10%. And I think it's very telling that our world has changed forever. Um, yes, some of those people may be returning, but I think the vast majority, been a huge shift, huge revelation in how we work, how we need to work, people working from home. Of course, there's a lot of fear tied into that, people taking the position of not wanting to, go back to offices and kind of closed, confined work environments. I mean, it's ironic, we've all sent our kids back into those situations, but never mind that. So there's a lot of people that still have that pretext. I think the majority are just realizing how much more efficient it is from a cost-effective standpoint as well, but also the convenience. And I don't think there'll be a return to that. So you've got that of people away from kind of working centrally to working remotely. And I keep hearing about the mass exodus out of US cities. And we don't know what that's going to look like. I'm making this point just to show how much life has truly changed. We'll never be the same again. So there's a mass exodus out of New York City. Even residential, 40% vacancy rate. Prices going down in terms of real estate value as people want to move out of those urban areas. I mean, they've had, not only is the fear of kind of the virus that's been put into a lot of people's minds, being in close quarters, but cities, are actually becoming dangerous to be in. I mean, there's been many major U.S. cities, in Portland included, that had, how many days of straight riots, not just protests, like riots, violent, buildings being smashed, burned, businesses being boarded up. So it's been New York, it's been Minneapolis, it's been Portland, like, East Coast, West Coast. There's a huge exodus out of California as well. People are fleeing Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. And I know several people personally that said those cities just became inhospitable. And yeah, it's a sign of the times. I mean, think about Las Vegas even, right? Here's a city that's entirely built upon tourism, right? This kind of like tourist entertainment town that has been shut down since March, right? How long can that go on? That's going to be massively catastrophic. It's not coming back anytime soon, if at all, if ever, if we continue in this direction. So our world is completely changing as we know it. And I think there's still an aspect of denial that most people are in terms of being in their own world and bubbles, and that's fine. Like, I think we need to really get real, get serious about our own personal individual life, get your life in order, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and engaging in your life and what's around you. I've felt absolutely compelled this year more than any other year to get my house in order, right? Get my garden in order, spend time in it, working on it. And for a number of reasons, there's been that kind of innate drive, right, that maybe I couldn't necessarily express or put into words. Let's call it instinct. Not sure why I'm doing it from that standpoint. And also, I'm really enjoying it. I'm finding something so deeply human and connective about the work. So it feels very fulfilling as well. And there's a number of factors that are kind of moving me in that direction, and it feels good. So that's one of my ways of kind of flowing with the change, being part of this change, And I'm under no illusion that what I'm doing here is on any sort of scale, in any kind of grand way of self-sufficiency. And one can always, dream that, oh, if I had a piece of land outside the city, da 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 da. And I think the reality is we just need to start doing it on any scale in any way that we can with what we have right in front of us. So if you're living in a condo downtown, I would get some containers, and grow in your balcony. I would be growing food indoors, right? Like sprouting machines or microgreens, anything like that. And then if you do have access to a yard or natural space that you can cultivate, that you can put trees in the ground, which you can cultivate as a garden, one should be doing that. And again, maybe, yes, as some sort of a insurance policy, because we don't know the direction society is going to take. It seems prudent, it seems reasonable to move in that direction. And ultimately, most importantly, is because it feels good, it feels fulfilling. It's a very human activity to be doing. And we can nourish ourselves in that way. And as we're outdoors, as we're engage in meaningful work, it's nourishing, and it helps us feel better, and it helps us feel in control, and that we're moving towards something. And that by continuing to do that, not only will we learn, will we grow, will we develop, more skills, more knowledge, more intimacy and connection to our environment, and therefore connection to ourselves. And then there's also wildcrafting, right? So engaging in on the edges and in the depths of kind of wild spaces, feral spaces, natural spaces, inside and outside the city, really engaging in them and beginning to know, read, and interact with the landscape. Also very deeply nourishing. And again, some sort of instinctual call that we've all are hearing, not all of us, but many of us for sure are hearing and feeling compelled to do that. So that's kind of my autumn reflections. That's really what I've been getting up to, getting the house in order, right, before what is being called for as this long, cold winter, as I reflect on where we're going and what's going on right now. Got to get the house in order. What about you? What have you been working on? What is getting your attention? What feels instinctual and that you've been drawn to, pulled towards, that you're engaging in right now? Let her know.